So these are the new Studio Buds Plus from Beats, which bring better sound quality, better active noise cancellation, a better transparency mode, and longer battery life than the originals. Plus, they even come in this sweet translucent case. I mean, that's pretty cool. So the original Beats Studio earbuds were, and still are, a great alternative to AirPods, where they share a lot of the same features, but maybe a little bit better for sports, where they're slightly more secure and they also have a slightly different sound signature with a little bit more bass response. Plus, they may actually appeal for some of you out there who aren't fans of the stems on AirPods. But the second gen AirPods Pro still kind of reigns supreme when it comes to Apple's lineup of earbuds, but with their newest version of these Beats Studio Buds Plus, they've improved on the originals with some very welcome updates, which may make it harder to choose between the AirPods Pro 2 and these, and that's exactly what we'll be talking about in today's video. So first off, other than this new translucent case option, it may be hard to tell the difference between the original Studio Buds and this refresh version where they have the same overall case design and the earbuds themselves aren't really that much different either. It's definitely all about what's on the inside that counts with the Plus version of the originals. And speaking of what's on the inside, we gotta talk about this case where they now offer a see-through case option where you can see all the little details of what's going on inside. It certainly has this kind of retro feel to it, but in today's landscape of earbuds, it's actually somewhat unique. So it's something just a little bit different than just black or white, but don't worry, they have those options as well. Another thing that you can see with that clear case is the battery, which is now 50% larger, but they also increased the size of the batteries in the earbuds themselves, where those are now around 16% bigger, where you can now get up to 6 hours of playback using active noise cancellation, and then up to 9 hours if you're not using ANC. And that larger battery in the case adds another 3 additional chargers with each of the modes. So basically, all in all, you're getting about 50% better battery life than the originals. So with the new Studio Buds Plus, you're getting slightly better battery life than the second gen AirPods Pro, where these get about 5.5 hours of playback using active noise cancellation and about 7 hours if you're not using ANC. The case itself uses USB-C for charging, and it takes about 2 hours for a full charge from empty, but it also comes with their fast fuel fast charging feature where if you're low on juice, you can just plug them in for about 5 minutes, which should get you about an hour's worth of playback, which is just a super convenient feature if you're about to, let's say, head out on a run and you find that your buds are low on juice. One thing that they did not add with this new update though, and you can see this, well, very clearly, sorry, kind of had to do it, is that there's no coil on the back of the case for wireless charging, which is something that's found on the AirPods Pro 2. But overall, they really haven't changed a whole lot with the overall design of both the case and the buds themselves, and that's probably a good thing where the case is svelte, where it's nice and pocketable, but it's just a bit larger than the case on the AirPods Pro 2. One thing that would have been a nice inclusion though is a hole for a lanyard like the ones that's found on the second gen AirPods Pro 2. And then the buds themselves really haven't changed all that much either, but the buttons are redesigned slightly to reduce accidental presses where they're a bit firmer and they definitely feel a little bit stiffer than the originals. But with those physical buttons, you'll be able to use them to play and pause, skip or go back to the previous track, as well as toggle ANC or transparency modes with a long press. Or you can also switch that function to Siri if you'd like, but what's also nice is that you can also toggle them to be volume controls. Where these differ though to the second gen AirPods Pro is that these have a little bit more flexibility with the controls since they have the stems where you can actually squeeze the stem for play and pause and skipping tracks, and then you can long squeeze the stems to toggle ANC and transparency modes or to call on Siri. But with the second gen AirPods Pro, they also allow you to control volume with just little swipes on the stem, which is super convenient. The compromise here, of course, is that you have the stems on the AirPods Pro, which some people may not prefer, but with the Studio Buds Plus, these sit pretty much completely inside the ear for a much cleaner look. And I should also add that they don't have the tendency of coming out of your ears like the AirPods Pro do when, let's say, you're taking off a shirt or a jacket or something like that, where the stems can sometimes get caught on clothing. One design feature I really do like about the Studio Buds Plus, as well as the original Studio Buds, is this little flat surface, which basically kind of makes them easy to grab and remove them from your ears, or to kind of readjust them if you'd like. And speaking of removing them from your ears, one feature that the Studio Buds Plus does not have, which does come on the second gen AirPods Pro 2, is the in-ear detection, where when you remove them from your ears, it'll automatically pause the music, and when you reinsert them, it'll automatically start playing. So next up, let's talk about fit and security. So these are basically the same as the originals, where they sit in the ears quite well, and they're going to be better for sports and workouts than the AirPods Pro, where they have a little bit more secure fit. The AirPods Pro really are amazing when it comes to comfort, where I can barely even tell that they're in my ears, but they aren't necessarily as secure as the Studio Buds or the Studio Buds Plus. One update in regards to the fit though with the Studio Buds Plus is that they now include a set of extra small ear tips, so there's a bit more range now in terms of fit with 4 different size ear tips, and this is kind of similar to what they did with the second gen AirPods Pro, where these also come with 4 different sets of tips. Overall though, the AirPods Pro are pretty good for the most part for most sports that don't involve a lot of super jarring movement. So for running and road biking, as well as most gym activities, perfectly fine, but for stuff like mountain biking, rock climbing, and then really high intensity interval training, that's where I do trust the Studio Buds Plus more. but they aren't going to be as secure as the Beats Fit Pro, where those you get the extra security of the ear fin, and those are definitely the best option when it comes to security when it comes to Apple's earbud lineup. So like in situations like if you were to crash on your mountain bike, the Studio Buds Plus will likely come out of your ears and kind of go flying, where that's just much less of a worry with the Beats Fit Pro. And then when it comes to sweat and water resistance, the Studio Buds Plus comes with an IPX4 water resistance rating, and this is going to be the same as the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro, and I didn't have a problem with the original Studio Buds. I didn't have a problem with the Studio Buds Plus, nor did I have a problem with the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro in this department, but just note that the case doesn't have the same water resistance rating. Another thing in regards to sports usage is that they reworked the venting system on the buds themselves, so there's supposed to be better air release, so you should experience less pressure in your ears. So with some earbuds, you may actually experience a bit of a thudding sound when you're running with each footstep, and that's actually one of my few complaints with the Sony WF-1000XM4s, which are amazing sounding earbuds with a terrible name, but one of the activities I know I just won't wear those earbuds for is running. But when it comes to the Studio Buds Plus, I definitely don't experience that, and I should also mention I don't experience that with the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro 2 either. And then when it comes to sound quality, this is another area where they've made some improvements where these sound more rich and full than the originals. And I also find the bass response to be a bit cleaner. So for music like hip hop and electronica, I definitely do prefer these over the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro, where these don't provide as much on the low end. But still, the low end on the AirPods Pro 2 definitely was an improvement over the original AirPods Pro. One area where the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro do have a bit of an advantage though is in regards to clarity, where the sound is a bit cleaner than the Studio Buds Plus. I mean, the clarity is certainly just fine in the Studio Buds Plus, but if you were to switch back and forth between the two, that's where you may be able to tell that the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro are just a bit more crisp. And the sound is going to be quite immersive on both the Studio Buds Plus as well as the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro, but again, I'd probably have to give that to the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro in that department, where they may sound a bit more immersive with certain types of music. And another thing that you'll get with the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro is the immersive head tracking feature. However, both do actually support the spatial audio content on tracks that have Dolby Atmos on Apple Music. And then when it comes to volume on the earbuds themselves, the Beats Studio Buds Plus are definitely louder at similar volume levels on my iPhone. It's sort of something that's always been kind of a complaint for me on the AirPods Pro, so if you're looking for the loudest of these two, that easily goes to the Studio Buds Plus. But either way though, I don't think that either of these will disappoint when it comes to sound quality, but if you want more low end and more volume, go with the Studio Buds Plus. If you want the best clarity but don't need it as much bass, go with the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro. And then another thing that they've improved with the Studio Buds Plus is the active noise cancellation, where these are apparently 1.6 times better than the originals. And the ANC is quite good in most situations where they're able to eliminate sounds like in coffee shops, the wind outside, traffic, and most of the sounds in the gym. But again though, the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro 2 are slightly better in this department, where they adapt a bit more, where with sudden loud noises, let's say with someone dropping weights at the gym, the AirPods Pro 2 do a better job here. Now, one way that I actually like using the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro with the active noise cancellation is when I'm not listening to music. Like if I'm on an airplane and I don't have earplugs, but I don't necessarily want to listen to anything, like let's say I want to fall asleep. The noise cancellation can actually sometimes be better than earplugs themselves in that sort of situation. Now, I haven't been able to test these out on a plane quite yet, but with white noise, with let's say something like a loud fan or air conditioner, again, without playing anything on the buds themselves, these do a pretty good job. And I think one thing that helps is that these do create a really nice tight fit in my ears. And yet another thing that they improved with the Studio Buds Plus is the transparency mode, where it's supposed to be 2 times better than the originals. And while it may be 2 times better than the originals, this is probably the #1 feature that does go to the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro. I mean, the transparency mode on the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro is absolutely amazing, where it almost feels like you're not even wearing earbuds. And that's not only due to the technology inside that's piping in outside sounds, but also due to the comfort where you barely just feel these in your ears. It's seriously that convincing on the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro. And with the Studio Buds Plus, these create a much tighter seal than the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro, so all it really has to rely on is the technology inside, and while they are just fine in day-to-day situations, it isn't quite to the level of the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro. And then when it comes to active noise cancellation and transparency mode for sports, for activities like running, they're nearly the same for the most part as long as there's no wind. But the big difference will be that the 2nd Gen AirPods Pro, these will do better with transparency mode, where you'll be able to hear more of your surroundings. But again, if there's not much wind. But when it gets windy or for activities at higher speeds like road biking, that's where the Studio Buds Plus will do better, where the AirPods Pro, they tend to pipe in more wind with their microphones. And this is both with ANC as well as transparency modes. And I think a big reason for this is that the second gen AirPods Pro have the stems where the Studio Buds Plus pretty much sit flush. I found that the Studio Buds Plus do a very decent job handling wind noise, especially when your head is facing forward, but where you may encounter wind noise through the mics is when you turn your head, or basically if the wind is going into the side of the earbud. So while the transparency mode is better on the second gen AirPods Pro, they do get affected by wind much more than the Studio Buds Plus, so it's really going to kind of depend on what kind of activities you like to do. And then for calls, they say that the microphones are now 3 times larger and they're also supposed to be more sensitive. And this is what it sounds like with me talking just kind of in a quiet room. And then this is what it sounds like when I'm walking outside, and there's just a little bit of wind to deal with. So I guess, how does it sound to you? And then when it comes to compatibility and how well it integrates within the Apple ecosystem, it has the easy one-step pairing where you just open them up and your iPhone immediately recognizes that they're there. It has the automatic device switching between Apple devices. It has hands-free Siri, and there's also the Find My support. And then you'll also be able to play a sound on each earbud themselves to find them, but it doesn't seem to have the play the sound feature on the case itself, which is a feature that's found on the second gen AirPods Pro. And then for some other features that are reserved just for the second gen AirPods Pro, there's no personalized spatial audio, there's no head tracking spatial audio like I mentioned before, and then there's no ear fit test. But another thing that's great about these Studio Buds Plus is that they have plenty of compatibility with Android phones, where they have the fast pairing feature. They also have support for Google's Find My feature, and they also are compatible with the Beats app for Android. But overall though, these new Studio Buds Plus are a nice update to the originals, where it's basically updating them with a lot of welcome features. Now, if you already own a pair of the original Studio Buds, I'm not sure if these are worth the upgrade. They definitely do sound better. The ANC and transparency modes are also slightly better, and you definitely do get better battery life, but if your original Studio Buds are still going strong, I'm not necessarily sure if you need to spend that extra money. But if you're considering these versus the second gen AirPods Pro, that's an easier answer, at least at full asking price, where the second gen AirPods Pro run $249 and the Studio Buds Plus run $169. These offer a lot for the money, and $80 is not a small amount of money. However, the second gen AirPods Pro have been very consistently been on sale for around that $200 mark lately, and that makes it a lot harder decision. I'd say that if you're looking for better bass response, better battery life, and a set of earbuds that are going to be a bit more sport focused, then these may be the way to go. But if you happen to get the second gen AirPods Pro on sale, you are going to be getting more features like wireless charging, Find My on the case, as well as in-ear detection, but they may not be as secure for sports. Anyhow, if you have any questions about the new Beats Studio Buds Plus that I didn't cover in this video, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section down below. And if you found the information in this video useful, do me a favor and also hit that like button, and also subscribe to the channel for plenty more sports tech videos just like this that are coming soon. In the meantime, have fun out there, and we will see you in the next video.